I'm going to introduce you to Montana Tucker today. She's captivated audiences with her series on Jewish identity and perseverance. And most recently, she led the children of October 7th, a powerful documentary. I think it's the #1 documentary in the history of Paramount Plus.
When they took you, did you have any idea where you were going?
I hid under my mom's dead body for an hour.
They said, if you move, you die.
Do you know where your dad hid?
Soldiers found his body upstairs.
I was just focused on surviving.
If you haven't seen it, it's a must watch. And you may think, oh, that's going to be tough to watch. And, parts of it are tough, I will admit. But I'll tell you this, it's moving, it's inspiring, and you'll be a better person for having watched it. Montana, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you, really. Thank you for having me.
And congratulations on the documentary. What led you to do that?
Thank you. It is a big accomplishment because I'm just grateful that these children have a voice and a platform, and that a major streaming platform like Paramount Plus decided to pick it up. Anything related to October 7th is so sensitive, and especially anything to do with Israel. I feel like everyone is scared to touch it. So I'm really grateful that they gave these children a voice and a platform. These kids, I interviewed them a year after October 7th. So a year after they already had to go through all that trauma. And I'm grateful they felt comfortable opening up with me and recounting their stories. A lot of them hadn't done any interviews before opening up with me. And some of them knew me from TikTok or saw my dance videos. So they felt a little bit more comfortable sharing with me. But this documentary, I say it over and over, is not political. It doesn't go into the conflict. It's just a series of testimonies from these young children recounting what happened to them on that day and what has happened to them for the past year at the time of interviewing them. And it's only 36 minutes. It's a short watch, but a very powerful and, like you said, necessary watch. And it's not easy. I have to admit, it's not an easy watch, but it's unfortunately necessary.
You're meeting them where they are.
Yeah.
Instead of asking them to meet you where you are. And that's what bridges the gap with your content,
Yep.
I think. People respond to it in that way.
Yes, I'm the one asking the questions, but it's not about me. It's truly about these children. And I think that when people are hearing from kids close to their own age, their ages 11 to 17 of who I interviewed. So for me, this documentary is important for college students, but also high school students. High schoolers, middle schoolers, everyone, all the generations need to watch it because they're going to hear from kids. We think about the Shoah Foundation. My grandparents did the Shoah Foundation, right? But that was told by the survivors when they were in their later years in life. This documentary is told by the children that are still experiencing this. I think it's like one of the first times something like, obviously like this has been happening, or has happened, of course, where it's told in real time when they're still kids. And so that's why I'm hoping, and it's already cut through. At first, it was just for the United States, and it's going to be international, which I'm really excited for on Paramount.
You say that your grandparents are Holocaust survivors. And I found in talking to young people that it's not on their radar. It's not something that they've ever learned about or know ever took place. It's not a reality to them. That's hard to imagine. And you're keeping that alive with storytelling. And you visited Auschwitz, and you say it changed the way you see the world.
Oh, yeah. For me, it's so interesting you say that because Holocaust education, every state in the United States doesn't have to teach about the Holocaust, which is so crazy. I grew up in Florida. So Florida was a state that had to teach about the Holocaust. There are just genuine people that genuinely don't know, which is such a foreign concept to me. And my following isn't just the United States. My following is all around the world. So for me, when my grandpa passed away, he passed away at age 97. My grandma Lily is still alive today at age 96, but unfortunately suffering Alzheimer's disease of 16 years. My grandparents were my whole life, still are my whole life. And I knew I had to do something, with their testimonies, their stories. And at first, my mom and I, we were just going to go to Poland, go visit Auschwitz, where my grandma's a survivor of. And then we said, I have the platform. I have millions of people that I could potentially educate about the Holocaust. And by the way, my content leading up to that was very fun, happy, dancing, singing. There was nothing about activism on my platforms yet, not because it was intentional, but just because I was a dancer and a singer and actress. But I would do videos with people of all races, all ages, all ethnicities, trying to always unite people through music and dance. But it wasn't until my docuseries. And then we made that docuseries for the younger generation. And it ended up really making a big impact and taking off in a really, really special way. And it got to the younger generation. And I actually visited a bunch of schools where the teachers told me that the kids were not paying attention in class before. And then I came to the school to talk about my series, and some of them knew me from TikTok. And I'm like, I'm not here to dance, guys. I'm here to teach you about the Holocaust. And the teacher said they ended up really paying attention way more in class. And Holocaust education is so important to me. And that's why I will always, even recently, I just posted some more clips of my grandparents' testimonies from the Show Up Foundation and made a whole video about that. It's the most important thing.
It is stunning to me when I learned that there are states where they don't teach about such a significant event in human history as the Holocaust. How can you teach history and not teach where 6 million human beings were exterminated? I just try to put myself in a position that people putting together a curriculum are sitting in a room and they say, okay, what are we going to include? And they come to that and go, nah.
It's such a huge part of our history. I always say, maybe you can help me understand if this could possibly be I say it could be like a generational trauma of some sort, that I felt that right when October 7th happened, it was like everything completely changed in me. I couldn't even leave my place for a week because I felt guilty looking at my view outside. I felt guilty doing anything besides knowing what was going on in Israel. And I felt that, okay, if I have the millions of followers, this is even before like the crazy propaganda was coming out and all the craziness we started really seeing about the world. Like you would think everyone would be with Israel of what happened. You would just think it would be a no-brainer of what happened and how everyone would see it. And I just knew I had to do everything that I could to continue sharing the truth, simply the truth, and speak for humanity. That's all. That's all I've done, and that's all I continue to do, is go and share real life, personal stories. I've met with all of the hostage families, released hostages, Nova survivors, kibbutzim survivors, the documentary, the children. Like for me, it's important to just keep sharing these real personal stories. And I feel it's like my duty. Like I feel like I absolutely have to. There's no other option for me.
And I think you're right. It does trigger something in you because when you've had the historical connection you have with your grandparents and you've made the visit to Auschwitz to see the reality of what took place, and then October 7th happens, and there were more Jews killed that day than any single day since the Holocaust. And we say that Holocaust could not happen again, but then there were more Jews killed in that single day. And my friend Ben Shapiro says it pretty well. He says, if Hamas laid their guns down, then we would have a two-state situation. If Israel laid their guns down, we would have a second Holocaust.
This message is sponsored by Greenlight. Parenting gets easier as kids get older. They can grab their own snacks and even help clean up, sometimes. But what never gets easier? Teaching them about money. Kids won't truly learn to manage money until they get hands-on experience. And now that's where Greenlight comes in. Greenlight is a debit card and money app for families with games and a chores feature. Kids learn to connect hard work with rewards. My life would have been so much easier if I had Greenlight for my kids first. Greenlight is the #1 family finance and safety app, trusted by millions of families. Don't wait to teach your kids real-world money skills. Start your risk-free Greenlight trial today at greenlight.com/Phil. That's greenlight.com/Phil to get started. greenlight.com/Phil.
You focus a lot too on healing, particularly with these young people from October 7th, healing after the tragedy. What do you try to share with these young people?
The children that I interviewed, there were so many times when I wanted to break down when I was interviewing them because you're hearing them talk. Rotem Matias, he was 16 years old and he witnessed Hamas murder both his parents right in front of him. His mother, being a protective mother, shielded him on top of him and they murdered her right on top of him. And he hid under his mother's dead body for an hour. So Hamas would think that he was dead as well. And now he doesn't have parents. And you hear these stories and they're all heartbreaking in their own individual ways. But then you see what they're doing to heal themselves. And Rotem specifically feels that he has a responsibility and a duty to his parents to live his life and to keep going. Because he said it would be such a shame if my mother did that for me and if I don't continue going and continue living my life after she risked her life for me. And then you hear, Ellie Dawn, who I interviewed, her father was kidnapped on that day. And during the time of the interview, there was proof of life of him in captivity. So we, had a whole part talking about what she wants to say to her father, or how she's going to feel when he comes home and all these things. And then we had to change the ending of the documentary because 3 of the kids that I interviewed, their father's body, they were murdered in captivity and their bodies were released in one of the last hostage deals. But they all have this will to keep going and to want, they're so young, the childhoods have been now stripped from them, but they have this true urge and will to want to keep going and they want peace. They don't want a war. They don't want to fight. They don't want any negativity. They just want to keep going and make a better future for themselves. And that's why they did this documentary, because they want the world to know what happened to them and what continues to happen to them. And that we can make sure, we say never forget, never again about the Holocaust, but it applies now to October 7th as well. And we all have, these kids are the ones that have the power to change our future. And the younger generation has the power. And that's why for me, it's been so important to get to them. And, slowly but surely, I know I can't be the one to change every person's mind in the world, but I think content is so powerful and using your voice is so powerful. And, you don't have to have 14 million followers like I do to make a difference. Every single person you talk to, every single post you share, every single colleague or classmate that you speak to, it can make a difference and can shape our future.
Think about the strength of a young man that goes through hiding under his mother's dead body. Think of the strength that a young man like that has to have to get up every day and find purpose, find direction. And, I've talked to some of these survivors, young and old. And, the one thing I say to them is, give your feelings a voice. Speak out and speak up, because if you withdraw and if you isolate and if you get to thinking that you're the only one that feels this way, you're the only one that feels so burdened, you can get overwhelmed. And it's so cathartic to give it a voice and to speak out and connect with other people that are empathetic with you and or have been through some version of what you've been through. There's strength in connection with this and in giving it a voice and finding out that there are those that get it, that say, I understand, at least philosophically, what you've been through, and we care about that. We care about you. We care about what you've been through, and we want to lift you up. We want to stand with you. I so fear that these survivors will think that they're a burden, and think that the world has moved on. We have to let them know we haven't moved on.
Absolutely.
This isn't over. This wasn't something that it happened, it's over, we've moved on. That we still think about them, we still care about them, and we still want to contribute. They will never get over this. I hate it when I hear people say, oh, you'll get over it.
No.
Time heals all wounds. Time heals nothing. It's what you do with the time. And if all you do is suffer instead of create value, then it was penalty. If you find a way to use it, and what you're doing is drawing these people out and telling them that it helps, whether it's expression through storytelling or dance or artistic expression, some way you're pulling it out of them so it comes out of them and into the world where others can react to it and help them. And God bless you for doing it.
Thank you so much. And thank you really for saying all that. And that's why the documentary, when you watch it, it doesn't feel like your typical just like one-on-one interview. I've had a lot of people say that it almost feels like observing a therapy session, because I really wanted to make sure the space was comfortable for them, where they felt comfortable expressing themselves and opening up. And I actually ended each interview with something fun with all the kids. So whether it was them wanting to film a TikTok with me, or Eitan Yalomi, who was taken hostage, he was taken hostage on a motorbike, and now he rides motorbikes as therapy, which is such a crazy concept to me personally. And we ended that session after we did the interview, we went to the park, and I got to watch him ride his motorbikes with his friends. And so every interview we ended with something fun. They are just kids. That's what everyone needs to remember. These were just innocent children who had nothing to do with a war, nothing to do with a conflict.
It's about finding and pulling out resilience from them.
They all are the most resilient. So as far as you know, your dad came up here. Oh my gosh, wow.
You think that's like a bullet hole?
I don't know.
Or dad? They actually shot him while they were up? I know there's also a splash of blood over there.
What does it make you feel seeing this?
I hate seeing this. But it's like I'm trying to use it to process.
There is resilience there, and they will find a way if they keep putting one foot in front of the other. Days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, months turn into years. And through that, they will find tools, they will find methodologies, they will find ways to say, I can use this in my life. Not to ever say that it was worth it. But since you can't change the reality of what happened, you can change what you do with it. And that's what you're giving them, is tools to express that. I mean, it's astounding, the resilience that the Israelis have.
I think that's why every time I go there, I feel more empowered to keep going, because it is this, and it starts with the children. It's not just the adults who have it. It really starts with the children, because like you said, they were born into this. Having rockets, they have safe rooms in their homes. That's a crazy concept. Can you imagine if every home in the United States had to have a safe room that they could go into when they're being attacked? Imagine if the U.S. was attacked the way Israel is attacked every day by 7 different fronts, I believe.
Yeah.
It's just a way of living that we can't imagine,
We were in the safe room the whole day, like
15 hours.
Yeah.
Were you thinking at all about your father, where he was?
I was. I actually texted him and I asked him if he was okay, but he didn't answer.
If you have the power to influence and you're not influencing of what you truly believe in, standing up for what you really believe in, what is the point for that? So I will always use any kind of influence I have to stand up for what I believe in, for what is right, for humanity. And I hope I continue to make a difference in this world.
Well, you are making a difference. And your documentary, The Children of October 7th, which premiered on Paramount Plus, is their most watched, streamed documentary of all time, and is continuing to be sought out and looked at. And I recommend it highly to everyone that they do that. And We're going to put links to it on all of my sites across all of the platforms. And I agree with Robin. You're a force of nature, and keep it up. And let's stay in contact.
Please, yes. Thank you so much. No, and I said this to you before, but I want to say it again. Thank you for your voice. And, you know, like you said, you've done so many incredible things in your career, and you've had such a long career in entertainment in Hollywood. But what you are doing now by truly standing for humanity and giving these people a voice and a platform also is so important, and it is so appreciated by so many people. So thank you from me, from the bottom of my heart. The second I saw you started posting about this, I reached out to Robin immediately just to show how grateful I was. So I'm sure you're hearing it all the time, but I hope you don't stop hearing it, because thank you. You're amazing.
Well, I do hear it, and I tell you what, I do it because it's the right thing to do. And Hamas doesn't care about Palestinian death. They knew exactly what would happen when they did what they did and ran back and hid among civilians at schools and hospitals. And the
man I interviewed from Gaza said that himself, by the way.
Yeah.
A man from Gaza says that himself about Hamas.
They knew exactly what would happen. And you would think the world would too.
That's why we got to keep going, and we got to keep sharing.
But I'll never stop, and I got a sneaking suspicion you'll be talking about it long after I'm gone.
No, we're in this together. We're in
You
this
bet.
together. Thank you so much.